Hey everybody, Bob Chick along with David Bay. We're back once again for the last rep. David, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing, man. Just Wednesday night, getting ready to hop on a plane to go to Vegas for the USA's tomorrow. It's abnormally hot even for July in Wisconsin, so I'm assuming it's going to be even more ridiculously warm in Las Vegas as it always is in July, 115, 120. So yeah, looking forward to that big time.
Yeah, USA's always cool, man. It's
No, but I love the show, so I can deal with the heat. So
16 years ago, my friend, right on that stage in the posing dais.
the what? The what? The posing dais?
That's right. Look that one up.
I don't even know what that means. The posing dais.
Google is your best friend. But
I can't Google right now, but I'm going to take your word on posing dais. 16 years ago. That's
16. That's insane, bro.
Who all won that year? So you won the Supers. Let me try my USA history. Did Rice, Ward L won the heavies? Or no, Tavita Alofiahu won the heavies. Am I right there?
Yep, Tavita won the heavyweights. I won the Supers.
Light heavies.
I believe Mike Valentino was in there. Our good friend, now district chairman of North Carolina. And if I'm not mistaken, did not Jose Raymond win his class?
Jose won the USA's every year
for 15 years.
1982 until he accepted his card. Jose Raymond.
You know what's kind of cool though. In all seriousness, it's cool for me to go back there now, hosting this show, but at the exact same place. So I mean, I'm actually there. You know, I can see it like it was yesterday, being on that stage, looking in that auditorium. You know, I can remember every bit about it. You know, me and George Farah, who wasn't quite the guru yet, he was just George from Rochester and knew his stuff pretty damn good.
Really awesome mustache.
Oh yeah, he was. But I tell you what, man, George knew. Got to give him props, man. He knew his stuff. He said, "Bro," and of course he said "bro" back then too.
Of course he said "bro."
He said, "You stick with me, I will guarantee you're going to win this show." And my good buddy King Kamali was there. He had made a bet with Lonnie Teeper, the now famous bet heard around the world, that he was going to wear a dress at the Nationals or something if I lost, or there was some kind of crazy bet. But yeah, it all turned out well, so it was all good. Good times, David.
Always.
So speaking of, like I said, USA this week. Obviously, we got some new champs that are going to be coming up. I got to be honest, bro. I don't know one front-running name of any of the amateurs going in this year.
You know, there's a handful of guys that did pretty well last year that are going to be back, but there aren't a lot of really big-name amateurs. You know, and I was just talking with somebody about this a little bit earlier. When you had in the 90s and the 80s and all your real big-name amateurs that were, you know, going into the USAs, and you kind of knew who they were. And the discussion was, are they giving out so many pro cards where you don't have those big name guys coming back year after year? Or is it, you know, they're not, you know, we think about how much exposure guys get today now with the media, but so many people are getting exposure. It's watered down a little bit. You know, in the 90s, if you had a really good national level amateur, they were getting magazine exposure. Everybody knew who they were from that. Now there's kind of everybody's got their face out there. So, but there's some good guys there. There was a middleweight there last year. John Jewett was his name, probably the leanest guy in the show. I think he slipped a few spots. I had him winning, but I think he got third or fourth. He moved from middleweight to heavyweight, and zero loss of quality there. He's going to be there. Got a young guy, Turner Riddle, who's been top 5 at nationals a few times in the middleweights. He's going to be there. Our buddy Phil Visicaro is going to be there.
Phil's back in action. All
right. Phil's back in action. I don't know if he's going to be a heavyweight or a super heavyweight. I think he was teetering on that line. From the pictures that I've seen so far, Phil looks pretty good. Looks like he a little bit less of the drama and a little bit more work this year, getting ready for the show, which is always a good thing.
Yes.
But there's going to be some really good competitors. Last year it was the same way. We went in, only knew a handful of the guys, and you know they're coming out the middleweights, the light heavies, the heavies, and the supers, and there were some really good competitors.
Well,
so,
I'll say this: bodybuilding in general across the board. Now you know me; I'm at a different town every week, literally, for a show, so I get to see a good cross section of the NPC community all over the place, all over the U.S. And this year, probably better than the last 4 or 5, I would say. bodybuilding has seemed to come back up. Numbers are higher, quality is better, a little bit deeper lineups. This is the first year I've actually seen an increase, where it's definitely been decreased the last 3, 4, 5 years. So it looks like it might be in another upswing, which is good. So listen, there might just be some better new talent out there that, this is a chance to make your name and get into the IFBB pros. So this could certainly be that opportunity for somebody out there. There isn't any real big names that are kind of featured like a Sergio or an Eddie Bracamontes or even the guys from last year that we had on the radar.
Yeah, no. As far as I know, as far as the heavyweights and the super heavyweights, guy that got second place last year in the heavyweights, I believe his name is, I want to say Addison Alexander, looked really good. I mean, there's going to be some really good competitors, like I said.
What about Jonathan Ward? Is he coming back?
John, there you go, John Ward in the super heavyweights.
There's a guy, and who was the gigantic black guy that we were talking about last year? Remember, he was absolutely enormous.
I forget his name. Yeah, the guy who came out Friday at Nationals and was huge but watery, and then he came out the next day looking like a different guy. And the whole crowd.
If that guy brings his Saturday physique Friday, it's over, bro.
Yeah, nobody can touch that guy. Yeah, I mean, he's big enough to be winning pro shows the way he looked Saturday at the Nationals last year. But like I said, I mean, I'm not familiar with a lot of the real big names, but there's definitely going to be some good guys there. A guy from Pennsylvania, Jordan Janowitz, he's been top 5 a couple times at national level. Crazy legs. I know there's going to be a couple of guys that I'm forgetting. Matt Kuba, guy got second or third at junior nationals. Super heavyweight from Illinois. He's going to look really good. He's just got to tighten up a little bit. So another Illinois, Wisconsin guy. Justin, God, I'm like totally brain farting. I've known this kid forever. His not.
Just incredible.
His last name starts with an F. He's gonna give me the hardest time for forgetting his name. But I think he was first call out in the light heavyweights a couple of years ago. Moved up to a heavyweight. Didn't quite do as well as heavyweight, but he's been growing into the heavyweights and should do very well. So there's gonna be some real talent there.
Well, you and I will be there tomorrow.
Salcedo, last year's junior nationals overall champion. Dorian Haywood, 2014 junior nationals overall. Now it's like all the Facebook posts are starting to come to me.
Well,
so
we'll have full coverage all weekend, David. Like I say, you and I will be there tomorrow, so everybody stay tuned here on MD because we've got full coverage all weekend long at the USA, so we'll bring you up-to-minute coverage, of course. Speaking of old champs, how about my man Victor Martinez pulling out a big W in Baltimore? I
am telling you, and I hope that the lighting at the show was actually really good, and I'm not sure, I didn't look at a ton of the pictures, but what they were doing, especially when guys were out one at a time, they had a spotlight on these guys.
That's cool.
So when they were coming out, the lighting, at least in their individual posing, was phenomenal. But so that definitely didn't hurt. But Victor looked absolutely fantastic. I mean, this is the best version of Victor I've seen since I've been going to shows. I mean, I obviously, 2007 Victor was at his best in that time frame before any injuries, before any of that stuff. But since I've been covering shows since 2013, this is the best Victor has looked to me. He was big, he was lean, he could probably be just a hair tighter, and he'll need to be for the Olympia. But wow, he really brought it. The anabolic chicken from the oxygen weight.
He bought out Ruli's portion of that chicken, but. Listen, what's impressive is, we all talk about 2007, which is universally thought of as Victor's best showing. Could have, would have, and should have won the Olympia, blah, blah, blah. That was 9 years ago.
Absolutely.
That's 9. So this isn't a couple, time tends to escape in this business of, how long, these shows were. For him to be able to come out, win a show and look dominant in it 9 years later, bro, is pretty impressive. How does that physique fare at the Olympia?
If he shows up how he did at Baltimore, I think he's sitting around 9th, 10th, 11th. He shows up 5% tighter, 6th, 7th, maybe as high as 8th. I don't know I mean, if he showed up just ridiculously shredded, now in a manner that we really haven't seen with Victor,
Sure.
then I think he's maybe a fifth or sixth place guy. I don't know that he's going to roll with Phil and Dexter and Sean Roden and Ramy, but he's definitely a guy who could be top 10 with how he looks now. And like I said, he can push some of those higher spots if he comes in a little bit tighter. I mean, I can't overemphasize, how good Victor looked there. And we talked to him a little bit in the interview, and obviously everybody's got their ideas about what's going on out at Oxygen Gym in Kuwait. But one of the big things that he said, and John De La Rosa kind of mentioned the same thing, is they're just living like, some people might call it lazy, but they're just living like an old school bodybuilding lifestyle. Victor's like, I'm out there and I'm sleeping and I'm eating and I'm training. And, all the day-to-day stresses that we call life, that most bodybuilders deal with now. It's 2016. Most bodybuilders don't have the luxury of just being a bodybuilder. They got other things going on, work, family. Victor said all that stuff it got set aside for a little while, and it's literally sleep, eat, train. So there's a very good atmosphere at the gym. It's a very old school camaraderie. Everybody's got each other's back atmosphere, and so he said it was just 8 weeks of just nothing but just bodybuilding, and
something to be said.
Very well.
Well, hopefully he can duplicate it, like I said, even sharpen it up a little bit for the Olympia.
I hope he goes back over there.
Yeah, go back to Kuwait, Victor. Yeah, keep doing your thing, man. But I would love to see Victor back in the mix. If not one last shot. I mean, obviously, some of the old guard.
I think he can be, and even let's you take the Olympia out of the whole mix, and obviously his goal is to go to the Olympia and do really well. Sure. Take that out of the picture. I mean, for him to come back and look the way he did in Baltimore, I mean, it was just a huge win for Victor. It was great to see from a media perspective, a fan perspective, and it says a lot about his work ethic and obviously his genetics at 42 or 43, whatever he is. But it was cool to see. It was a good show all around, a good top five. Akeem Williams got second. Akeem came in significantly sharper than he was in Chicago, everywhere else, upper back, still behind. So he's still got to work on that. Michael Lockett got third place. Michael looked, he looked really good, a little bit tighter than he normally was. He's still got some weaknesses as far as the thickness in his back, the discrepancy as far as the quad size that he needs to work on. I think Clarence DeVis got fifth place. I'm drawing a complete.
Mr. DeVis, yes.
Yeah, Clarence. I mean, he's one of these guys. He reminds me a lot of like William Bonac, a smaller frame, smaller structure, I guess you could say, but a ton of muscle. But he just doesn't quite nail the conditioning. And if he would ever just get that down, he could do really, really good. Why am I totally Max Charles in fourth place? So
Max
was his downfall continues to kind of be his detail in the back, especially his hamstrings, his glutes, just not as sharp as he needed to be. He was definitely better than he was in Vancouver. But, I think Max is pushing forward for a couple other shows this year, and so he can continue to get better. He won Tampa last year. I don't know if that's what he's doing this year, but with a couple more.
I'll tell you this. If I'm running a Akeem Williams camp, this guy, I would have had him eat Sunday night, Saturday night, as a little victory, after the show. And Tampa's in 2 weeks, bro. I mean, this guy, if he just continued on from where he was there for another 14 days and got on stage in Tampa, it's over. It's over.
Yeah, he's so it's ridiculous how much muscle he's carrying. He's got to work on his posing a little bit. Somebody had pointed that out on his first many shows as you and I are at. Sometimes maybe we stop noticing the little things, but when somebody brought up his posing and you start critiquing it, he does need to work on that a little bit. Some of his front poses and his back poses, actually, I think he hides away a little bit. He hides away.
Don't ever do that, David.
He's got to open it up. And for as big as he is, opening it up is going to look just that much more impressive. But he's got a little bit of work to do. But I mean, really, it's just his upper back. I mean, his chest, his arms, his legs, his hamstrings, everything was in. And then you have his upper back just looks like it's just 6 weeks behind everything else.
Well, like you said in the last show, dial that in and the rest will take care of itself. But I don't know what his plans are, but I hope to see his name on that Tampa list. Speaking of which, big shout out to Tim Gardner, our good friend, putting on the Tampa once again. blockbuster show, Dave. You're looking at over 200 pro. He's actually looking to break his own record this year, so it could be into the 220s this year in terms of pros, because they've got all the classes there. So just with the advent of the new classic physique and such, that number could go soaring. But big shout out to Tim Gardner. If you're in the Tampa area, what a great weekend to come to see some IFBB bodybuilding. And of course, he's got the NPC action as well. So
good year. He's always got some superstars in the house that aren't competing. Last couple of years,
yeah.
Lyndon was there, Corey Evertson was there.
Yeah, that's
Vince Taylor got on stage last year.
Got the Ben Weeder Memorial Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, and we had Vince do a little posing. That was pretty cool, man. It's hard
awesome. Still in really good shape.
Hard to believe that was a year ago already, but you know, speaking of which, segueing into nothing that has anything to do with what we're saying. So some good topics on the MD boards this week. Most notably, Kevin Levrone. Now, I want to get to that in just a second because that's kind of the hot button topic of the day. But there was another good topic which I chimed in on, which I thought was interesting, and it's the ongoing debate of whether Masters competitors and such should get pro cards. And you know, it's funny because I've never been a fan, as most people know, of Masters pro cards, second place pro cards, and sure as shit not third place pro cards. I mean, that's to me is completely ridiculous. But I thought it was a good topic, and he had some real good input from some of the guys on there.
I read. I'm a guy who likes debate, and I read some really, really good arguments on the flip side of what I might normally say, and it's a good threat, and I agree with you 100%. But
here's the thing. I mean, you know, me and Ron Harris were going back and forth, respectfully, because we're good friends. I love Ron, love his writing and all that. But you know, we can debate and disagree. He's coming from a different perspective. I mean, he is a Masters competitor now, and would certainly like to get that pro card because he's been competing for quite some time, and that's the only way he's going to get there, obviously. I come from a different place, and listen, to me, a level is set in place. To me, it's no different than if the NFL opened up a Masters combine, you know, for guys over 40 to see if anybody was good enough to make the NFL. It's like, no, wait a minute here. You're either good enough or you ain't. There is no special subcategory that you put out to see if somebody's good enough. You either make the team or you don't, based on your merit, you know, based on your level of excellence. Bodybuilding to me is no different, David. Second place pro, to me, this is what I put in the thread. The second place guy lost. You lost the show. How do you get rewarded for losing? You know, see, I don't like that whole thing. I don't have any issue with the class win. Fine, you know, they've evolved that over the years. Back in the day, it was just before my year, 2000, that I won the USA. You had to win the overall, man. You know, you won your class. They gave you a pat on the back and a hearty handshake and said, "See you next year." You know, okay, and they went to the top two, which was me and Tavita at that time. Okay, at least he won his class, and you know what I mean. I don't have any issue with the class winning, moving on, especially now with the 212 division that we put in place.
Absolutely.
So that said, I just want to get your take on it, if it was anything different than my own. But I don't, you know, listen, second place, a Masters guy. Listen, you're a 50-year-old guy. You look fantastic. Good for you. You beat a bunch of other 50-year-old guys. That's great. I don't think that gets a pro card. I think he gets a Masters pro card.
Yeah, you know, I think that when Masters Nationals, when I look back to when I really started following bodybuilding and they had Masters Nationals, it seemed like it was always kind of like an honorary pro card.
Right.
You know, back even in the early 2000s and late 90s, it was like the over 40 overall winner. They didn't have over 35. The over 40 overall winner got the pro card. There was I remember a guy from Illinois, the chairperson, Chuck Sano. I think he got it. I've known Chuck forever. I think he got it in 2000 or 2001 or 2002, something like that, when he won the over 40 overall. And I think at the time, you know, Joe Palumbo, he's working on the shows. I remember Joe got it back in the day. But I think at the time, that's kind of what it was. It was an honorary pro card for these guys who've been grinding away for a long time. And the thing is, when we talk about these Masters competitors, that's what gets brought up a lot. Here's a lot of guys that have been grinding away for a long time, you know, 20, 30 years, some of these guys, and look how much hard work they've put in. They deserve to be rewarded. Now,
no, they don't.
Now, the word deserve in bodybuilding there's really no deserve in bodybuilding. And somebody brought up a very good point, the same point that you brought up, that the IFBB should be the elite of the elite. It's professional bodybuilders. And if you're not good enough to be a professional bodybuilder when you're 25 or 30, and if you're not good enough to compete in the open when you're 35 or 40, you shouldn't be handed a pro card to be competing at an elite level with elite competitors in a division that's watered down. And again, this is before anybody puts my head on a stake or yours. These guys look amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so no disrespect. I mean, some of these Masters competitors, the conditioning, the muscularity. I mean, these guys look phenomenal. But the reality is most of the guys, I would say 90%, 99, 95% of the guys who are winning their pro card at Masters couldn't do it in the open. Now, I've seen a handful of the guys that could. I think the guy who won, redheaded guy, Michael something, I want to say. I think he won the over 35 and over 40 heavyweights last year. I have zero doubts. He's one of Kenny Wallach's posing clients. I have zero doubts he could have gone to the USA's or Nationals and gotten a pro card.
Right.
But the majority of the time, that's not the case. So, you know, I mean, it's I feel like I'm just dancing in circles, which is what I do best when I'm talking.
See,
So yes,
here's
yes,
part
these
of the
guys are
problem.
busting their ass. But if the IFBB is the elite of the elite, then then no, maybe Masters guys shouldn't be getting pro cards. But I don't know.
I tell you,
I mean, I don't. I guess I don't have a problem with it. You know, I mean, if you look at it, the other issue is there's not really a Masters bodybuilding circuit here.
That's what I was just going to bring up.
Gary started the Masters Pro show last year for bodybuilding. It's a new show, so the numbers are starting to go up a little bit. I know some of the pro shows have like Masters men's physique and Masters figure at a level. So there's gaining a little bit of steam as far as a Masters circuit in the IFBB, so that can justify awarding Masters Pro cards. But
see, I don't have any issue with that. I don't have any issue with a.
I'm totally on the fence.
Yeah,
totally.
I am not on the fence at all. I haven't even built a fence. Okay, there's no fence here, David. There's no fences in bodybuilding. Okay, here's the bottom line: you're either good enough or you ain't. That's it. End of and all the arguments I hear are all personal. Well, if you don't think they work just as hard as anybody else, you're look at. We all realize how hard everybody works.
Right.
That isn't part of the criteria when you're judging a physique contest.
It's not the criteria in any sport.
Nobody cares how hard you work. Nobody cares about your story. Nobody cares about what you had to overcome to get there. Everybody thinks that they had to sacrifice and do this. Listen, it's irrelevant. There's no bench press on the stage. There's no scale on the stage. Okay, none of these things exist. They're looking at a physique, and you have to be at a certain level to win. Now, to me, that's what you have to do to get into the IFBB. This ain't a come one, come all federation. This is clearly not fourth grade T-ball.
You went there, didn't you?
All right, it's not.
I mean, like I said, I can agree with you that if it's going to be the IFBB and the elite of the elite, then handing pro cards to Masters competitors that wouldn't otherwise win pro cards in an open division, they shouldn't be giving their pro cards. Is it the way it's set up? Do the officials in the IFBB and the NPC feel otherwise? Yes. I mean, there's guys in the forums talking. It's all about entrance and dollar signs and how many competitors you get in, and there we can run circles.
It's a business. I mean, clearly we know it's a business. Obviously, there's money involved. Listen, it brings in a tremendous amount of dollars to anything from the promoter to the bodybuilding community to the federation itself. So I get it. I mean, I get why it's done. I just don't agree with it. What I would agree with is put Masters Pro shows in, even if there wasn't a dollar attached to it. Let's just say it was for the same thing you do in the amateurs. You're going to get a trophy. You're going to get a title. But there's zero money involved. You'd still get people coming out for it. Just like they come out for the Masters Nationals to get a pro card and all that stuff. And it's still, a lot of those guys I think would rather compete against those in their own age category. Listen, you don't want to go out there at 50-something years old and stand between Big Ramy and Phil Heath on stage. Unless your name is Kevin Levrone, who is 52 years old and going to be standing in between Big Ramy and Phil Heath. So which
Yeah. So,
segues me, David.
moving on, we went and shot Kevin Levrone. As everybody on the forums knows, you've seen the pictures. We're going to have the video up tomorrow or Friday. We're just getting final editing of the video. So we went to Exile Fitness in Baltimore and shot Kevin. He's 8 weeks out. There's been a ton of mixed reviews. I was there in the flesh with our photographer, our videographer, Chris Nickel. And here's my thoughts on Kevin. Does Kevin look good? Yes, he looks very good. Conditioning wise, for 8 weeks out, he looks really good. Structurally, he looks good. He doesn't have, I didn't see his legs.
Right.
Nothing about him looks old. Right. He doesn't look, his skin doesn't look old. I mean, he's showing his abs. Nothing about the guy looks old. The biggest question to me is he going to be big enough at the Olympia? Now, he is big right now. I mean, everybody's looking at these pictures. Oh, he's not big enough. Trust me, he's big. He's not a little guy. I think Kevin probably could have gone into Baltimore this weekend, and I think he probably could have gotten top 5. I honestly think, from what I saw of Kevin, I don't know what his legs look like.
From the waist up.
From what I saw from the waist up, his upper body, would he have beaten Max or Akeem or Victor? No. Would he have beaten Clarence? Yeah, I think so. I think Kevin probably legitimately, and conditioning-wise, he looked pretty sharp. I saw him in a tank top, which you guys aren't going to see on video. So he's lean. But the question comes down to size. Now, here's the thing, and we talked about this. I've talked about this with Sean. Everybody talks about Kevin used to start at 16 weeks out or 14 weeks out and be 205 pounds. And 16 weeks later at the Olympia, he was 250 on stage, okay? Right. So let's talk. I mean, is it fair to say 40 pounds in 16 weeks?
No, it's not fair.
30.
Yeah, there's listen,
30 pounds. Okay, let's say he had to be putting on at least 30 pounds in 16 weeks.
Listen, I have firsthand seen Kevin go from zero to hero. I've been there. I have seen it.
In what time frame and how much weight? Because everybody's dogging Kevin pretty hard.
Here's the thing.
I still have hope.
Here's
so
the thing.
If you had to say, how much weight do you think he put on and what kind of time frame?
Well, I've seen him go from barely almost walking neck by him in the Weider offices. Okay, it's for real. I mean, all bull aside, to him taking second place at the Olympia about 12 weeks later.
30 pounds? 40?
I mean, it was at least 30 pounds and maybe more. Right now, I will. Like I said,
when he was young. All right.
If I didn't see it personally, I never believe it. Okay, but I was there. I talked to him. We said hello. We shook hands. We shot the breeze. I was at the Olympia, and boom. I mean, he was, like I say, he was Kevin Levrone. Now, that said, that was also 20 years ago.
All right.
So now, I don't know if he has that ability today. That's going to be the whole missing link here is, listen, we've said this weeks and weeks ago when we were debating when it was first announced, Kevin Levrone in the Olympia. And first thing out of my mouth, if you remember, we could roll the tape, David, was he's going to have one of two problems. If he has the size, he ain't going to have the conditioning. If he has the conditioning, I doubt he's going to have the size. That's going to be the biggest thing today is can Kevin recreate that magic that he had 15 plus years ago? And at 52, bro, I don't know. Now, we haven't seen his legs. You have felt his legs.
I have.
Which is very strange, by the way.
Very, very in-depth felt his hamstrings, which I haven't posted that picture up on the forums, just on Facebook. I asked Kevin, I pressured him the whole time I was there, both on camera, off camera, in the locker room. Let's see and he was nah. But he was like, at one point when he was doing shrugs, he's like, "Come feel my hamstrings," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm not feeling your hamstring." He's like, just come feel my. And then so I had my hand on his hamstring, and he's like grabbing the top of my hand, moving it up and down. It got very friendly. Not something when I started as a fan of bodybuilding in 1990. Did I say, you know what? 26 years from now, I'm gonna be feeling Kevin's hamstring. His hamstrings were gnarly though. I mean, I can grab mine now, and I don't have the greatest hamstrings. I mean, there's some deep. The guys who have the three lines that go out. There was some deep cuts in his hamstrings. There was a fair amount of mass there. So for as much as a guy can tell, feeling another man's hamstrings through his sweatpants, Kevin, we're good.
You should have gone in with a tape measure real quick and then thrown it around there just to throw them off. But
Just
now,
the-
let me ask you this: now, you can generally tell what people are from what they're wearing. You know, if he did his legs look like they had some size to them.
Yes, there's some hanging sweep to his pants.
Okay,
If that's
all right.
yeah. I mean, they didn't look like they were stringy. Now, are they as big as they used to be? Who knows? But back to my point. Now, this is the discussion that I'm trying to have. I talked to Sean about it this morning. We all know how Sean feels. Sean's like, I don't know. He doesn't look big enough. Here's the thing. Everybody's talking. He's too small at 8 weeks out. So here's my question. Let's just say conservatively he put on 30 pounds in 16 weeks, okay? Maybe less, maybe more. Let's say 30 pounds. And I think everybody who saw him back in the day would agree that that's at least what he was putting on. Now, can he still do it at 52? Who knows? But he hasn't competed for 13 years. So as far as being fresh, his receptors and everything else, they're as fresh as they're going to be for being 52.
Yeah.
Now, let's say, for the sake of a hypothetical discussion, he's got 8 weeks to go. He can put on half of what he did back in the day. He puts on another 15 pounds of muscle to where he's at. He's going to look good. Now, look, Kevin's going to have problems with guys as big as Ramy and McCarver.
Yeah.
That's
But then again, so was everybody else.
There's no two ways about it. But everybody has problems with those guys. But if you look at somebody like a Dexter Jackson or a Sean Roden, who's very aesthetic but not necessarily huge. Now, I don't think Kevin's legs are going to be as big as Dexter's. But upper body wise, if Kevin continues on the path that he used to be able to continue on, I think he can put on enough size. Now, of course, that's a complete hypothetical situation saying that he can still grow the way he used to. Now, I did talk to his training partner. I talked to the gym owner that was there. And I asked those guys, completely off camera, Kevin's not around. I asked those guys, how are things coming along? And they both said the same thing. They said, you wouldn't believe how this guy is growing. Said if I had to tell some, the gym owner, super cool guy, this old school powerlifter guy. I mean, the gym, by the way, this is like a throwback. If there's any good gym for Kevin to be training in, I mean, this was like some Rocky Four type shit. I mean, just old. I mean, door open. It was 90. What's that?
Little Rocky. Little take you back there.
90 degrees in there. All the equipment is old school, hardcore. I walk in. There's 5 or 6 guys going through their bodybuilding posing, shirts off in their shorts. Nobody cares. It's hot as hell. People are dropping weights. Chalk dust everywhere. If there is an atmosphere that Kevin needs to be training in to get ready for the Olympia, it doesn't get any better than that. But again, the gym owner and his trainer both said, hey, look, he's growing at an unbelievable pace and at a level where if you didn't see it firsthand, you just wouldn't believe it, which is the same thing everybody says about Kevin from the 90s. If you didn't see it firsthand, you wouldn't believe it. So,
well, listen, I'm going to stick with what I said originally. Are the odds good? No. But if anybody could do it, he is the only guy that I know in this business that could do it. So we'll keep watching. I wonder if it's a mistake to show anything at this point.
Well, like I said, he didn't want to. He did. He's got a baggy, like short sleeve sweatshirt on. We rolled it up a few times, but he didn't really want to be. Hold on, I just got to plug in my laptop real quick. Don't go anywhere.
Hold that thought, David. This is live TV, folks.
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, plugs, things like that. Things you should have done before we started filming.
Right. This laptop's battery sucks.
Yeah, that's all right. I like the realism of. I like that people can see what really goes on behind the scenes.
What's that?
I said I like the idea that people can see what really goes on behind the scenes.
Yes,
and we're not gonna edit that out, by the way. I want that left in there.
30 seconds of unedited footage, but no, I mean it was a privilege for somebody like myself to be able to be there just for a workout when he was filming it, and I think the biggest thing I took away is whether he's top 5 or top 8 or top 10, he's going to look good. Now I know that's not why he's getting ready for this show, And that's not what a lot of people are expecting of Kevin or what people want to see of Kevin. People want to see, this 1996, 2002 Kevin Levrone get on stage massive. And, there's all sorts of anti-Phil Heath sentiment, and the bodybuilders of today aren't this and that. So on top of everything else, there's guys who just want to see, the 90s come back to life and Kevin finally get that Sandow he's been looking for. Look, is that going to happen? Yeah. But the point is he's going to look, I think he's going to look really good.
Sure.
Could it be a downsized version of Kevin that people aren't used to seeing? Yes. It very well could be. Is it going to be awesome for the fans? Is he going to put on a good show?
Oh, yeah.
Is he going to get a standing ovation?
Now,
Yes.
with the excitement of and the anticipation of Kevin going in, and whether he should or shouldn't have shown anything, personally, I wouldn't have shown a damn thing. I would have let people just guess until the week of the Olympia, bro. And I would have shown nothing. I just would have left it as a big mystery, man, as to what that.
I think he almost takes, I think he almost still feel like he takes a little bit of pride in the fact that he's going to be able to keep growing. Like it's almost like yeah, you can see me now, but what you're going to see in 8 weeks is going to be a whole lot different. So,
which is kind of interesting because you can kind of go two minds about this. I'm a little old school with that, where it's like, nah, don't show him nothing. Let him buy a ticket. Let's show up. Boom, the big unveiling on the Olympia stage. Now that said, modern era and stuff, I don't know. It's kind of exciting to see a guy who's, it's like, I don't know, he's getting a little better. Kind of increases the anticipation, I think, a little bit more. That this ain't a joke. This ain't some fairy tale. This is he is growing. He is getting ready, and he's going to look good. Like you said. So
yeah, there's no two ways about the fact that he's going to look good. Conditioning wise, he is. I would say he's not like stupid shredded right now, where you're too far ahead of the game to start turning away. But he's in good shape for 8 weeks out.
Well, and we are 8 weeks out. I mean, he shouldn't be in any better shape than he is probably right now.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, he's big. Everybody's looking at those pictures like, oh, he's in trouble. He's little. It's like, I stand next to all these pros. I stand next to all these pros at all these shows. Kevin is not small right now. Is he as big as he was in his prime? Probably not. I never got to stand next to him, but I'm telling you, the man is not small right now. And
I think fine. I think he's gonna.
There's so many mixed sentiments from fans, from forum members, from the competitors. I mean, even talking to the competitors, I'm not going to go off and name names, but there's pros who are excited to be able to compete with Kevin Levrone. And there's other guys who are saying Kevin needs to sit his ass down. Like I said, I'm not going to. I mean, you know how it is. You have pretty candid conversations, and these guys trust you not to take what they say in personal conversations and make it public. But amongst the fans, amongst the competitors, look, there's a lot of competitors that are getting ready for the Olympia that are very excited about the opportunities.
Hey, listen,
Kevin,
man,
this
is a professional sport. This is business. I mean, listen, if I'm a new guy, not a new guy, a veteran right now, if I'm a Dexter Jackson or a Sean Roden or any of those top guys, a big Rami, listen, man, this guy ain't taking my paycheck.
Oh yeah.
No, listen, it might be cool, and hey, man, Kev, good to have you, man, but. No, as long as you're behind me, that's going to be cool. I will say this, David, with the
Olympia, there's paydays on the line. Yeah, nobody wants to give up their spot for nostalgia purposes.
That ain't going to happen. Believe me, it's all out competition up on that Olympia stage. That's for damn sure. But I got to be honest, with all the excitement that's around Kevin Levrone going in the Olympia, I haven't never seen something fall so flat and out of the mix. But Kai Green not going in the Olympia. This has gone radio silent about as fast as I've ever seen.
Well, the thing is, last year there was such a controversy as to whether he was going to do it, whether he's not going to do it. Is he allowed to do it? Is he not allowed to do it? And everybody wanted to know. It was so up in the air. And now this year it's been made known that he's not going to do it. He won 3 Arnolds earlier on in the year, and we just know Kai's not going to be at the Olympia. So it's okay. What's next for Kai? We're not worried about it. The focus right now is on the Olympia. The focus is, can Phil beat Dexter again? Can Dexter continue to get better? If Rami comes in shred, I mean, there's every year at the Olympia, whether Kai Green is going to be there or not, it's still going to be the Olympia. Do I want to see Kai at the Olympia? Absolutely. Do I think all the fans do? Absolutely. If he's not there, does that mean the show doesn't go on?
No.
Absolutely not. You still have there's still a ton of great storylines. There's Dallas. There's
Sure.
now you're talking Victor Martinez. There's always going to be the question of can Ramy get in shape? Can Dexter edge him out? What's Roden going to look like on
Got
Friday?
a whole crop of the new guys that are going to be showing up this year, from Josh Lenarowitz to
Lenarowitz,
Compton, perhaps. We're going to be seeing him, I think, in a week or so.
You got Steve
Kuklo.
Kuklo, the best he has. Compton is going
Right.
to be is Compton making his first Olympia's appearance.
Nathan Diasha.
Is going to be on stage. You got De La Rosa's trying to qualify after spending a couple months out at Oxygen Gym.
He's coming from Oxygen. Yeah. So,
yeah, there's Rulli. There's
some good stuff.
There's going to be a ton of big names at the Olympia, and if Kai Green's not there, is it going to be as good of a show? No. Any show is always going to benefit from having Kai Green there. But is it still going to be an exciting Olympia? Yes. Is it going to be one for the ages with Levrone in there? Yes. At Compton's first Olympia, like I said, we see the emergence of McCarver and all these other young guys. The Olympia is going to kick ass.
That's a given. No question about it. I was just making the note, though. Last year, like you said, there was all that kind of uncertainty, and right up until game day.
It's just not a topic this year.
Yeah, this year, yeah. It's just a non-issue, right? So it's kind of interesting to see that those dynamics at work, though, with the Kevin Levrone story coming in, Kai Green story is out, and just pretty much a non-issue at this point.
And I'm hoping there's a Kai Green next year. I know his camp has said he doesn't know if he'll ever do an Olympia again, but maybe he'll change his mind next year. Maybe everybody shows up off this year and Kai kicks himself in the ass 3 ways for Sunday for not having done it.
Well, I don't suspect that. I think what you're going to see here.
Well, no, I don't think everybody's going to show up.
Yeah, well, not everybody. Certainly.
I think Phil Heath is. I really do think this is the year Phil Heath has said enough is enough.
I'm with you.
People questioning me, enough is enough on showing up and not being at my best. For as much as people talk about, Phil not being a hard worker, I'll tell you what, that's complete bullshit, because he works as hard as anybody does, and I think we're really going to see something from Phil this year.
I agree. I think you might see the best Phil Heath, maybe even comparable to that. Was it 2012?
If you look at him off season, Phil stayed the biggest and the leanest he has this off season that I've ever seen since following Phil. We all know that Phil used to get a little bit small and a lot bit watery in the off season, because he's only.
Let me expound on that, David, because I have seen this now firsthand with Ronnie Coleman, with Jay Cutler, and now with Phil Heath. I've seen each one of those guys right about at this stage in their career, right about with 5 Olympias. Obviously, Jay was around obviously a lot longer to taking second places, but I've seen each one of these guys right about the same time get to the off season in much bigger and better condition than they had previously. I don't know if it's a muscle maturity thing, if it's just been in the gym and obviously on stage for so many years, but it's an interesting dynamic, because I remember seeing Jay early in his career off season, and he was a butterball, like everybody else in the off season. I mean, it's clearly off season.
Right.
Then I remember seeing Jay towards the last 3 years of his career, and he'd be close to 300 and in guest posing shape at a contest.
Right.
But, same thing with Ronnie. I mean, I'd see Ronnie guest pose, bro. He'd be over 300 pounds and still have lines in his ass and just full serratus and the whole thing. And now I'm seeing it with Phil. You're seeing him guest pose. If you look at guest posing pictures this year compared to 4 years ago,
night and day.
It's night and day. Yeah, I mean, he was a round boy in the off season, 3, 4 years ago. Now, like I say, this guy, you can see that maturity level coming in. Phil's now in his getting into his mid-30s.
Yeah, I think him and I are about the same age. So I think he's 35 or 30.
Yeah, so it's about right, man. But I tell you what, I'm with you on that prediction. I think we see the best Phil Heath that we've seen probably since his first Olympia win this year. The fight to me is going to be for second. But David, we are out of time, my friend. You got an early flight, and me not so much. So I will see you, of course, in Vegas tomorrow. The USA Championships, the NPC USA. John Lindsay, of course, putting on the greatest amateur show on earth once again. I will be on the microphone, David, of course, and you will be covering every single second in the pit.
We won't miss anything. No, we're gonna. It'll be a long weekend. It's going to be a couple hundred bikini competitors. Men's physique, classic. Excited to see classic
Oh,
for
yeah.
the first time at the USA's. Bodybuilding should be in full swing, so it's going to be a good weekend.
Well,
Long one, but good.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of good stuff. Like I say, lots of superstars will be there at the USA, of course, in Vegas once again. So we'll get some good candid interviews. With some of the IFBB's best that'll be kicking around, and that's going to be doing about it. We will be back, David. Tomorrow, actually, we start coverage. We'll have some interviews tomorrow night at the check-ins and all that, and then obviously Friday morning we start with the pre-judging. So for David Bay, this is Bob Chick wrapping up another Last Rep.